Okay, so we're gonna go over some knee on belly positional details, doing a couple of videos over this, but this one's gonna be over misconceptions, okay? I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 17 years at this point, have trained with some of the best people, some of the best black belts. And just recently got to work with Chris Howder, did a private lesson with him, and have done a seminar also with him on this position. And a lot of people have a misconception. Like when I started really, looking at this position, I was like, okay, I've been doing it wrong, right? And then a lot of people I still know still do it the way I'm about to talk about, but I want to talk about why I don't do it that way anymore, more than anything, okay? So Michael's laying down here, and this, I think, prevents people's development too, because I'm going to think about stapling my knee right here, right in this, like the soft spot of his belly, right beneath his sternum. You can do sternum too. But what I'm looking for here when I do this is pain compliance, right? He's going to be like, people like to think about knee on belly as a position to tap someone. And I believe that this is the sole reason for people trying to control right here, okay? So if I wanted to be like super rude, I can just draw Michael up like a bow and tap him with a compression of his ribs if I'm, wanting to. It's not super hard to do, but you're not stable when you do it, okay? So when the knee is not all the way across, that's the issue, okay? Even if I hook the hip here, it's still an issue because there's slack in my foot, okay? So if there's any slack there, Michael can reach in and grab that foot and start sitting me down, exposing my heel if there's heel hooks, right? So that's a really, a glaring hole in this positional control, okay? So we're gonna really dive into where we put our knee in other videos, but I'm just gonna highlight it right here. Don't put the knee here. We go on this line, it needs to go all the way across here. Right? You feel how much more control I have there? And see if you can get my heel out, right? A lot harder to deal with. And it didn't feel good either, all right? And then too, if I go right here, you just move around like in a circle, and I'm gonna try and follow you. That's kind of what I just did here, right? So, bam. Almost always when you do even a good escape, like that wasn't a bad escape, right? It was good for that kid. But when we're teaching, 4 or 5 different escapes right now, and when you do a really good escape, people stand up, their knee comes on the ground, or if you do a really good job, they sit down, right? And, that happens a lot more when you put the knee here. It's a lot easier to ride and control with the knee all the way across. And we're hooking the hip here. So people will hook the hip, but they won't put their knee all the way across, and I get all that slack in my foot. Even though I'm hooking his hip, he can still reach in and grab the heel. The heel's exposed. So here, right, even though the heel's exposed, I get a lot more connection, a lot more control, and I can move when he moves. So that's just some misconceptions. I've talked with several black belts like, hey, why do people do it the way I was taught how to do it? And they're just like, people chasing that submission, right? More than anything, it's like, I'm gonna make you comply to my pain type of a deal. But, they'll work when somebody's tired or, not ready for it. There's some context there, but it's like people base, the whole position around that, and that's not the way to play. So some common misconceptions there on your knee on belly. Okay, so we're going to be doing the knee on belly, positional control, just going over some details. And put out also a video on misconceptions about this position, so definitely watch that. This would be a great kind of part 2 to add on, okay? So we'll be going over some entries, but again, this is just about being here, and we'll go over getting here later, okay? So I want to come all the way across his belly, hooking my foot in his hip. Okay, so let's first talk about, foot and knee placement. So a lot of people think knee goes right here, right? I want my foot to hook at his hip, there not to be slack in it, and then to go diagonally across to his ribs here, right? A lot of control, I'm hooking the hip. If I don't go deep like that, even if I hook his hip, he can start controlling, okay? So I need to almost just follow the line of his lapel, in a sense, right? So there. So that's my foot and knee placement. Now, let's get into hand placement, gripping, right, and distribution of weight, right? So if I'm thinking gi or no gi, this and this are really good controls for all occasions, okay? If you can't get this or don't prefer this, if it's gi, we can grab this lapel, right? So that's what I'm doing here. And this could be a cuff grip on his sleeve. It could also be a no-gi grip on the tricep, just like a C grip, or it could be a tricep grip, okay? But that's kind of, look, you have one hand on each side sort of idea. My preference is right here, because it works whether he's wearing a gi or not, okay? If I can get the tricep, great, and we'll go over some in some future content about how to get this pushed across. There's a whole game off of that, okay? So then lastly, head placement and distribution of weight. So when I start controlling this, right, I need to be sure and not cross the center line with my head. That's gonna be poor distribution of weight. And I need to use my grips, right, to maintain my base. So here and here. So instead of being like pushing myself across, right, yeah, he's already made my outrigger leg come up there. I'm here, right? Here allows me to be on this side of his center, maintain my base, follow, right? So you gotta find your base, you gotta maintain it, you gotta be able to stay there, and then you have to be able to follow him. That's what control is, right? So if I wanna have positional control, I need to be able to maintain the position, keep him there. That's in the sports, 2 points, you hold stability for 3 seconds. You gotta stabilize the position, okay? So here, right, if he moves around a little bit, I can follow either direction, right? If he starts turning, I can let up, wedge my knee in his hip there, follow him and prevent him from turtling. So I can also stand if the occasion merits and kind of pull him up with me if I'm gripping, and that prevents him from, turning and countering for singles. So, just a quick recap. I want foot at the hip, shin going all the way across to his ribs on the far side, right? Bicep and wrist or triceps grip is great, and I use those grips to keep my head and weight on this side. This secondary leg, my outrigger, right? If he moves around, I can follow. Okay, now, just from your back, kind of bridge. See, I can just raise my weight up and down like this. I could stand if I need to. So you have to be able to do all that. Those are all prerequisites. If I can't do those things, when he starts, trying to do the basics, hip escape, right? Walk out, turn in, turtle. You better do those things if I'm not holding the position correctly, right? So this knee on belly, positional control. Okay, this is a great drill for maintaining position from the knee on belly, okay? So we're gonna start there, and I like to think about this drill as turtle prevention. So a lot of times when you do a throw or a standing guard pass, right, somebody may try and turtle as you do that. So as you're kind of getting into knee on belly, people turning away for escapes, people make mistake on escapes, close their back, like this happens when I hold the position, okay? But if people start turning and you can't follow, you'll lose the position, okay? So I need to be able to move with my hands, and I need to be able to move my weight up and down. But also, I don't want to just completely disconnect from him ever with this drill with my knee, okay? So let's just start in the position we've been talking about where I have wrist and biceps. I'm all the way across diagonal here, and I have my foot hooking at the hip. There's no slack in that foot, okay? So as he starts trying to turn away, I'm gonna lift up and actually let him do that. And then look, my hands are just kind of staying on his back here. And I'm not just trying to kill him because he's my buddy, he's in a lot of videos and has been for years. So I want him to keep coming back. But this could be excruciating. Like, look, it's a low back. But you have to keep that weight when he gets to this position. Like, I felt him try and turtle, and I was, not letting him do that by just having that weight. But now I want him to be able to complete the roll, right? So here, boom, 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 boom. And look where we're at. Go right into gift wrap or whatever. Because here's the thing, when you are able to control someone like that, you're gonna start getting opportunities. They're gonna present an arm and things like that. So we'll do one more quick time of you rolling away, right? So go ahead. Yes, 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 yes. There it is. And then look how that arm and tricep grip was exposed. So that's where the gift wrap will start coming in. Or if he fights this, push that back across, other things as well. All right. Okay, so we're gonna do just a basic hip throw. This is Ogoshi from Judo, right? And it's a fundamental. Okay. We're gonna go to knee on belly because that's a keynote theme. If you start looking at interest in knee on belly and you start looking at throws, you'd realize that, you know, a lot of similarity there, okay? A lot of these throws go to knee on belly, right? Now that's, some takedowns will too, singles and doubles, but mostly we're looking, okay, throws, they go down, I can follow them to a side position, or I can drop down and knee on belly. Sometimes straight into an arm lock, right? But we're gonna kind of do a sequence off that. So hip throw, knee on belly, wanna get a little control, and then I'm gonna figure 4 arm lock, okay? So from the over-under clinch, right? And why this is such an iconic throw. We show this from haymaker defense. We show it from the traditional judo method. Go ahead and grip with me, standard grip, right? Where that's in Kodokan Judo, the book. That's how they show coming in, okay? So entries, I like this over-under clinch for all occasions, okay? So I'm gonna start here. I wanna have good connection and control, finding some base here, and I'm gonna raise my elbow and my pinky as I go to the side. Now when I'm in this side position, I'm in what in traditional martial arts they would call this a front stance, or like in striking, right? 4-point base. I have a foot facing this way and a foot facing this way. So I have balance on those planes, okay? This is a C grip on his tricep here. That'll be important for after I throw him, okay? People do 2 things here that allows the hip throw to open up. One is he makes my job easy by stepping behind me with his left leg. Yes, thank you, sir, right? The other is, you know, if he pulls, I do something different. I step in and I throw him backwards, okay? But if he, like, pushes into me, like there, and people do this sometimes in combo with that because they'll be turning, right? But I've got this behind his leg. So some people realize they'll be off balance if they do this. But if he starts pushing into me, that's a great fit in for the throw. Notice how I'm looking this way. After I pick you up, I want to turn and look. Rotate with my torso here, and that makes you fall off my back, right? So increase your percentages a little bit. Now look, we're here, right? Dropping in. I've already got that C grip on his tricep, okay? So find some stability, find and maintain your base. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this slack out of his shoulder, come in here, and there's my arm lock. A subtlety here is how I'm anchoring my elbow to my femur. So it's not just my arms doing this, right? Like I get the figure 4, it's my hips. I'm doing that with my hips, okay? So that, again, that C grip of the tricep, as you find and maintain base, is just showing the hand details here. I'm gonna go here, figure 4, and then I engage the hip. Let's watch that from the entry again. So don't get in a rush to submit. Like in the sport, you get 2 points if you hold this for 3 seconds. So, you know, they made it that way for a reason. Like control the person. And I'm not trying to teach you to, you know, go out and sport someone to death, right? It's like, yeah, cool. You want to do a tournament, at least get the points, right? But that's a byproduct of you doing a good job controlling. You control someone like this, they'll present opportunities. Here, boom. He steps behind or pushes in either one or both. Boom. I'm finding my base. My head's on this side. I've got good grips. Take the slack out, figure 4, engage with the hip. When I connected that elbow to the femur, it got serious, right? So, guys, that's a fundamental sequence that I think is for everyone. If you were just training here 6 months, I would be teaching you that, right? That's one of the first throws in judo. It's in every self-defense curriculum I've pretty much ever seen, right? We teach it to our beginners here at our gym. So hip throw, figure forearm lock. Okay, so we're gonna go over an outside leg throw. This is called Osoto in judo. There's lots of versions of Osoto. Osoto Gari, Osoto Toshi, Osoto Garuma. This one's technically Osoto Garuma. That means major outside wheel. That's the way it's translated. So let's just say outside leg throw, and I'm taking both his legs away. Okay, so, but it's a little different in how I'm taking one of the legs away, right? So typically in Osoto Garuma, it's something like this. He takes both legs away and you target the far leg. So we'll teach sometimes in self-defense, give me a front kick real quick and just kind of hold it there. Passing this, and we'll pass it and kind of come in here and boom. You have it right there. Okay, this we're gonna do from an over-under clinch here. And I'm gonna drive to the back corner. When I do that, that lessens his underhook because, you know, I wanna be able to do things like raise with my underhook and get to the side. Okay, so I want to off balance him, not back to the back corner. So think about if we drew an X through where Michael was standing, like where his spine's at, like from diagonal, you know, back to front. I want to take him to this back corner, right? So right now he's sort of in the middle. As I do that, I'm going to pick his leg up. Okay? Anytime I don't kick back with my leg, it's called an otoshi in judo. That means drop. I don't just hang out here. What I want to do is step to the side when I get this leg and come around. And look, I'm not even going to have to do anything. See this hand that was the underhook? Right? Watch what happens when he goes down. Boom. So I get a really good control where I can go knee on belly, see what he gives me. Right as soon as I got the knee on belly, he gave me a gift wrap opportunity. Okay? Now, I'm here on my knees, but really good idea here, if I abandon and go to side mount, to drive with your live toes is pretty brutal. Okay, so when we get this clinch, I'm driving to the side, I pick that leg up and I step around. Here. Okay, so look, I can hold gift wrap from knee on belly too. If there's striking involved, great. Okay, so that's just kind of an option there. I can hold that or I can abandon, right? So little outside leg throw. It's interesting to me also because a lot of times when you pick up a single and you're on the inside of their legs, people think that that's an inopportune situation. Or the thing I commonly see is people stepping through the bat. I like that one. I've landed it in 2 different tournament matches in the colored belts, right? Uchigari, inside trip, I like it, but this one just gives more purpose to that inside single situation. So, good little throw for you to be working on. Okay, so I'm gonna go over an entry to knee on belly. I'm gonna kind of talk about some misconceptions here. You know, I personally used to even do an entry from like a head arm side mount. You know, check out on our channel, we have a video where we show a prevention where head arm side mount is not the best idea on entering knee on belly, okay? So if I have head arm side mount, Michael, just think about this. Think about telephoning with your arm, again, yeah, like there. And as I go to pop up, just roll that way. Oh, yeah, this is terrible for me, right? Don't submit me, please, right? But we will, you know, we go over that, right? And we've got content out on that. But so I don't do that anymore, right? So then it's like, well, what if that was your number 1 entry, right? For which a lot of people, it is. Then another thing, like, I also used to look at knee mount like, okay, I got a good knee mount, and then he's gonna make a mistake. Well, then I would start getting better people in knee mount, and they didn't make mistakes. They didn't give me things the way I was playing knee mount. So this will play on the idea of setting up an attack before you even get to knee mount, which is always a good idea. If you're passing, if you're going to mount, whatever, it's a good idea to be setting up to submission. Like as you're getting into position, you have options instead of having to just control and maybe they give you something, right? Which is a great idea too, not to take away from that. But people usually have that right there. Instead of this head arm, we're gonna move over to here. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to dig out his arm. Okay, so I'm going to go here and here. So now, look how I've got that trapped in my hip pocket. Okay, now from here, I'm going to come in and go on this lapel, or if he doesn't have a lapel, I'll post my hand on the mat and I'm wedging his head between my knee and my palm. Okay, now I want to start coming up, right? So I'm gonna block on this side, I can grab pants or belt, right? And then look where my head's at. It's kind of across his body. It's not like that in the belly. Okay, we can't have that. So I've got to pick up that positional detail of distribution of weight. I'm pushing my head back this side of Michael's center. Okay, I've got control all the way across, and then look, boom. There's your arm bar under the arm from the get. I did this from side control, right? So here, switch your hip. I pick this up here and I collect it with the other hip as I go back down. Here, boom. Near side arm bar. Okay, so we're gonna go over some knee on belly attacks, right? And really just think about this as a north-south Kimura and arm bar entries overview, okay? So there's a couple different ways you could transition here. I'm gonna go over the ones that we've been working on, and then I'll start talking about also, you know, sometimes people make mistakes. You're doing a really good job, they might make more mistakes, or they may induce them to make a mistake, but the better the person is, the fewer mistakes they're gonna make, even though you're doing a good job with your position. So what we want is to be able to do those same attacks that are options from this position, whether they make mistakes or not, okay? So when we get into this position, he is probably gonna keep this arm in tight, okay? So like what we like to do is if we can get inside and push this bicep, because that'll allow me to start working to this wrist, right? In which case I can step over and either drop off and finish here or finish north-south, okay? So the problem is, and like I always learned this way, and just that people would do this. Like, oh, you got a knee on belly, and then they give you this, and then here. It's like, oh yeah, north-south Kimura, far side spin armbar, all that. But that happens in my life such a low percentage of the time, right? Like people don't do that. I'm like our people, I'm like, hey, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. Like it's a tenet, right? We talked about it right before we started this. It's like, hey, what would you do? Well, I wouldn't do that, you know? So, and if they do, great. Here, you've got awesome fundamentals. So, you know, here's the thing. He's not always gonna do that. So like coming in for this inside bicep will allow you to do things like this wrist control. Okay, from that wrist control, I stepped over the head and I've got this traditional Kimura. Okay, so meaning kicking my leg back and finishing there. If you prefer, here, the north-south version, it's there as well, right? And that's off the wrist trap. Yes, people may do this. Shame on them if they do. Like, why? Why are you doing this? Go train somewhere else. But anyway, so they're probably not going to give you that. So if he's unable to push me off because, you know, I have this sort of idea. Another place I start getting this is I go here to his tricep and I start pushing this across. People don't like this. So they try and turn back in. Boom. And then look. Here. Learn this from Hops and Moore, this particular transition. Stand on the wrist. Here. Push his head, pull him up. There's my Kimura. Or my far side spin arm bar. No slack in that one. Right? So, you know, just again, real quick overview. He's probably not going to do this. If he is, fantastic, you've already got it, right? Then it's just Go to north-south, you can trap his arm or not. You have everything from the get-go. They know what they're doing. They're tight here, okay? Sneak that inside on the bicep. Go to the wrist, that gives you the Kimura, right? You step over the head and drop this leg off, or just go to north-south. I like just more so the Kimura on that one than the arm bar. It's not make the arm bar impossible if that's what you want to do, but, and then the other one is, you know, I want this, and you might even be playing on the lapel here, but I can, if he ever pushes here, I can just come forward with my hip, right? And then come into the tricep. There's a nice little gift wrap. That's another thing we learned like day one, like, hey, don't let your hand cross like that or they could gift wrap you. Like trying to save you, new guy, right? Like tell the white belts this, literally. I remember being told as a white belt too. 2 hands on one side, you're getting gift wrap if you're on bottom, right? So you fight back into that, you push. Get your underhook as you do that. Step on his palm, push his head as you windshield wiper. Look at that one again. Boom. Boom. There's my Kimura, arm trapped on this side. Just everything's as it should be. Okay? If I'm feeling that's not an option, like I will go here and try and pull away. Get that thumb to prevent him from running out. Right? So I have to have the end of the lever here if I want to prevent his barrel roll escape, right? If he wants to hitchhike her out. Like if his arm's here, he can just turn over. He's out. Good, go back. Right? So, however, if I can go here to the thumb and just hold. Okay, can you roll out, Michael? That's hard. Give a little massage here. Like you submit yourself when you do it, if they're on the end of the thumb. Okay, and that's it for the video, but funny story. I was training with one of the guys I perceived to be one of the greatest black belts I know. And we were doing it private, and this guy leaves, and we done something like this, and he goes, I can't believe that guy didn't know the armbar thing. The thumb detail. So, anyway. All right, see ya. Okay, we're gonna go over a lapel choke here, and this is a single lapel choke. I like this. I've never seen anyone show it before. If people mess up one of the escapes we teach, it presents itself, but if you do just a really good job controlling the knee on belly position, it's there for you. If you're able to follow somebody and maintain base in knee on belly, it's there for you. All they have to have on is a lapel. That's it. I mean, it's obviously a little less applicable no-gi, but there is more of a no-gi version as well. So, you know, when people are under your knee on belly pressure, you need to be able to move in a circle on your base. You need to be able to drop weight. You need to be able to lift weight up. This comes off of that idea of lifting weight up and disconnecting, okay? So if I'm here controlling Michael with a lapel and like a wrist or sleeve or tricep or whatever, okay, and he starts moving around, right? What I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be going to this tag here, okay? And then what I'm looking to do is find the opportune moment, right? It's usually when he's moving away, right? To sit him up here. Now I step around and finish. Right, literally single lapel choke, kind of an arm triangle on this side, so I have to take this space away and come in here. And what I'm doing is taking that elbow, chambering to my hip like that, right? Anchoring it to my core. So here, I'm controlling, I'm riding, I'm keeping the slack out of the leg, I'm going to his collar, I'm keeping my head on this side, I set him up here. Lean forward and connect. And that's the powder choke. Okay, so this is baseball choke. This is classic gi choke. Like I remember one of the first gi chokes I ever learned. Like this, Ezekiel, like loop style chokes, either one. And the Ezekiel, I remember learning those around the same time, but like I was a white belt, okay? So with this, I'm gonna show 3 different finishes, right? Like a lot of chokes I know, like a Katagatami, I teach, you know, the sit through, staying flat, and clocking out. And I'll always have 3 different students that like each one of those. So that's kind of the idea here. So look, there's lots of grips that you can choose to employ from knee on belly. We talk about different grips in different videos. But with this one, what I'm gonna be doing is inserting this hand here. Now, a lot of people will start coming up from a head arm side mount because they already have that, and they think it's a good idea. It's not. You can easily get trapped if you put the arm under the head and try and pop up to knee on belly from side control. Okay, so I need to have this set up after I already have a good knee on belly. So I'm here, boom. Right, if you wanted, you could go with a baseball with the loop, okay? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pop up and go here, and then I'm gonna be looking to go here, okay? Now, what I'm gonna do is the sprawl version here, like this, here. I don't wanna drop my knees on the mat, I'm staying live toes, but I also wanna be able to have my knees up enough that I can move and tilt, almost like you're in a position to do mountain climbers, if that makes sense, because that's like a mobile position for people. If I'm all the way sprawled back like this, it can work, but I'm not mobile if I need to add a little more weight or pressure or lift up, get my elbows together more, his neck's thicker, whatever, okay? So that's the gripping, and then this is the finish here, boom. Now, there's also the idea of disconnecting here, boom. And I'm trying to choke him as I'm going here. Tripoding, right? And then I'll get the tap there. I want to get the tap before I get to that end point. So here, boom, right? And let go. That, my friend, Mark Bradford taught me a long time ago. Like, hey, don't just go get to the spot. It's not a north-south choke. They should tap before you get to north-south. Oh, okay. Yeah, you should be choking them the whole time. As soon as you get that grip, start trying to choke them. You start clocking. That tightens the choke. It cinches it, like the sprawl, right? When you start adding that leverage, becoming efficient, they tap, right? So be looking for early tap on that. Final option here, right? So I've got this knee on belly. Is I roll here over the shoulder. You can't land flat. You gotta land in a bridge. So I'm here. Boom. Okay? What'll happen with this sometimes? Right? Sit up with me, Michael, if you can. Can you try and take my back? And they'll get the hook in sometimes and take the back. And they also go unconscious sometimes. This happened in here, right? We have a guy that kills people with the baseball choke. Got 3 dudes in one tournament with it. So, but, you know, that's more of a defensive version. But if you get those elbows locked together, it's going to be hard to deal with.